Parris Island, located in the Port Royal Sound, South Carolina, is steeped in history. The story of its occupancy dates back to 1891. However, Spanish explorers who arrived in the harbor in 1520 named the area Santa Elena and claimed it for the King of Spain. In 1562, Jean Ribault, the French explorer, landed on Parris Island and, somewhere in the region, established a small outpost named Charlesfort. In 1715, the island was purchased by Alexander Parris, the treasurer of South Carolina. He, his daughter, and son-in-law were the first settlers of Parris Island. During the late 1800s and the early 1900s, the island changed hands between the Navy and the Marines several times. In 1909, the Marines opened an officers' school, and in 1911, it housed 2 recruit companies. That was short-lived. Before the year was out, the schools were transferred and Parris Island became a Navy disciplinary barracks. November 1, 1915, Marine recruit training was reestablished, and Parris Island became famous worldwide as a training base of U.S. Marines. In 1929, the water era, as it had become known, came to an end when the Horse Island Bridge and Causeway were completed. Between 1941 and 1945, almost 205,000 were trained here. During the Korean conflict, more than 138,000 Marines trained at Parris Island. The Vietnam War saw more than 10,000 recruits training at one time, and before the conflict ended, more than 200,000 Marines had graduated from Parris Island. The island also houses a drill instructor school and an NCO school. In December of 1946, the Marine Barracks Parris Island became, officially, the Marine Corps Recruit Depot Parris Island. Today, the men of Marine Corps Recruit Depot Parris Island and the Eastern Recruiting Region stand ready. We can feel the brush of our predecessors' wings, the wings of eagles.
Parris Island, South Carolina. I'd like to welcome you to Parris Island. Now, when I take it off the bus, all the males pick up all your personal articles. Everything you brought here in the bus, that means under your seat, underneath my bus, and get off the bus. Get off the bus now.
They come from far and wide, the cities, the farms, all with one single purpose, to be one of the few, one of the proud. These young men are about to enter one of the most intensive periods of physical and mental activity that has not yet been experienced in their young lives. They will have to call upon reserves of physical and mental strength they simply never knew existed. Between the first day of training and graduation day, they will give their utmost to earn the prize title of any armed force of any country in the world today, Marine, and to wear its symbol, the eagle, globe, and anchor. These young men will have to pay the price of admission to an exclusive organization whose hallmark is one of duty, honor, and country. They will learn the Corps is not merely a job, it's a way of life. The term Marine is not a title, it's an emotion. These young men you are about to meet will graduate and become Marines through the efforts of their officers and drill instructors. They are the finest officers, staff, non-commissioned officers, and non-commissioned officers in the Marine Corps today. In the first few days, there are many things to do. Uniforms to be issued, medical, dental, and eye exams, written and physical tests, and let's not forget haircuts. There are 3 phases of training. All of them constitute a lot of learning. A Marine has to be ready for anything under any conditions. This is the circuit course. It consists of weights, push-ups, sit-ups, dips, leg raises, and most of all, a test of endurance. There's nothing like a good run to work out those kinks. A basic part of any recruit's training is water survival. This shows you the proper way to abandon ship in case of emergency, wearing a full pack and your weapon. Marines go in one way. It's a tradition that's never been broken. Take the beach. In this simulated infiltration course, quarter-pound sticks of C4 rip up the real estate around the assault units. The assault moves forward, in and out of ditches, through tunnels, over the wall and under the barbed wire. All the time more explosions jar you, and when it's over, you know you've tasted just a hint of what the real thing is all about. Conquering yourself first and neutralizing your enemy's resolve second. Here, recruits attack dummy-held ground positions. Each man is his own assault force. It's one-on-one. Parry, thrust, slash, and run. Talk about calling across the ages. Our Marine ancestors created this type of assault. Again, you are in touch with your core heritage. Everyone's ready with a cheer when a buddy takes a stand with pugil sticks. First, there's plenty of instruction, then it's one platoon against another. Even though the pugil stick is only hard rubber, the combatants wear cups and helmets as they vent a little steam. Although the sticks are made for safety, it sometimes feels like a Band-Aid on a baseball bat.
Standing tall and look at me. Ask me what I wanted to be. Ask me what I wanted to be. Made me wanna be a Marine. Made me wanna be a Marine.
Once a recruit has completed this confidence course, he is well on his way to graduation.
Get up there.
The only thing that gets you over the top of this is your belief that you can surmount any obstacle, anywhere. That's where the confidence part comes into this course. There are any number of obstacles to overcome, including the infamous rope bridge and the hair-raising slide for life, which, although isn't particularly dangerous, it can be harmful to the ego. Rapid fire. The time has come for you to take your M16 into firing position with your coach, and you remember everything you've been taught. Night fire is probably one of the more exciting training events. First, a flare is fired, and then you fire tracer bullets. They make it easy to see if you're firing correctly.
Shooters aiming bed. Unlock and fire one round.
Once again, plenty of instruction before firing. You learn to take every weapon seriously and accept the fact that no matter the size, it can inflict harm. Our supervisors are always close at hand. Careful instruction concludes in supervised hands-on training. It's just like you'd imagine. Pull the pin, release, count, overhand throw, and down. A few seconds later, you know it's for real. This is a lesson you'll never forget. This is one class to pay real close attention to. It's real important to get that mask on correctly. These recruits are being asked if they have any physical impairment that would stop them from participating today. Just as I thought, not one. Okay, let's give them an hoorah. They call it cryptically the gas chamber. Once inside, they fill the room with tear gas, but you're confident you have a gas mask, and your DI makes you put it on correctly. They release the gas, and your mask works perfectly. Then the DI yells, "Off with the masks and state your name and social security number." It can be a wrenching experience.
Open your eyes. Come here, Coach. Let's go here.
Marine assault history is as varied as the topography of every foreign battleground. Sure, Marines have learned to hit the beach, but what about mountain terrain and helicopter assault landings? That's where the lively art of rappelling comes in handy. This impossibly tall 47-foot tower simulates cliff heights and helicopter landings. First, they use a rope to make a Swiss seat which locks the body in tight. The rope you use to lower yourself passes through a metal ring which allows you to make a carefully controlled and very fast descent off the helipad at the top of the tower. Any expert will tell you the rope is the key to your fall. By simply pulling it behind you, you can stop on a dime. But then again, the coach on the ground also has the other end of the rope. It's comforting to know they have complete control in stopping you. You don't even need to hold on. Final drill. Here you are tested on every aspect of drilling. Your DIs bark orders at you and you automatically respond, moving and marching without even thinking about it twice. You've learned well. And today one platoon will win the final drill award, something to be really proud of. The flag-raising ceremony signifies the beginning of the most important day in the life of a recruit. The concept of being a recruit will soon be only a memory, but those memories are enough to sustain the spirit for a lifetime. There is no magic here. The real evolutionary process is in a young man's heart. Here a young man is merely allowed to open up his soul and let the man inside come out. And in the United States Marine Corps, the man comes out shining.
title Marines. Today they are called Marines for the first time. They have earned this distinction through demonstrated courage and achievement. They now join the proud ranks of over 1 million Marines who have graduated from Parris Island since it was designated a recruit depot. From this day on, they will be known as Marines. They have departed Parris Island for combat and conflicts throughout the world, including places whose names are immediately associated with Marine courage and dedication. Names such as Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Iwo Jima, Busan, Incheon, Quezon, Hue City, Lebanon, Grenada, and Panama. This island is rich in history and tradition, and no Marine trained here forgets the sight and sound of it. Following the command to parade rest, the parade adjutant will give the command to sound off, which signals the band to parade forward of the assembled Marines while playing martial music.
Graduation is written by the religious lay readers of each graduating company. The recruit religious lay reader program here at Parris Island were designed to train individuals in religious worship, religious education programs, both while in basic training and upon graduation as a prayer for this graduation is written by the lay readers of Company A and Company O. Please stand for the invocation. Almighty God, today on earth, you walk with us through good times and bad. When we were up and when we were down. When we performed in harmony and with ministry, you allowed us humble pride. When we were disorganized and confused, you gave us vitality to strive beyond ourselves and struggle to work together. Thank you for being with us and giving us mental and physical strength to complete this, our first Marine Corps challenge. Go with us, family, and our friends, as we depart this terrain after day. Give us the strength and determination to do our jobs around the world with great tradition and distinction. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the commanding officer of the Recruit Training Regiment, Colonel E.L. Trainer.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Major General Lynch, our commanding general, welcome to Parris Island, and welcome to our Marine Corps family. Preparation, training, young men and women who serve ultimately in the Fleet Marine Force of our Marine Corps take very demanding, rigorous training that challenges each individual youngster every day. We believe we have such a training program here. Every one of these young Marines standing before you has met and overcome every challenge placed before them. They have earned the right and the privilege today to be called U.S. Marines. I'm sure that as their parents and loved ones, you share their sense of pride, that pride of confidence that they've developed here in overcoming those challenges. And rightly you should share that pride because those fundamental values and the character that you instilled in them long before they ever came to us is what helped them overcome those obstacles and in fact contributed significantly to their overall success in training. We thank you for the fantastic quality young men and women you sent us. Speaking of quality and those who are responsible to send these young men and women to us to Parris Island, I'd be remiss if I didn't take special note of the recruiters, the other part of the team, the unsung heroes that are so seldom seen here at Parris Island. It's those men and women, the recruiters, toil daily, nationwide, inspiring qualified applicants to join the Corps and to come here and take up the challenge. We recognize as recruit trainers the tremendous role that they have, the critical role that they have, in fact, in making today possible. We have today with us many representatives of the educational community, and I'd like to take this special opportunity to thank you also for providing those character traits so essential that contributed again to the significant enhancement of the training down here. Most important, I would like to recognize those Marines that are most responsible for the training of your Marines, your new Marines today, the drill instructors. Those men and women standing behind me, the men wearing the campaign hat, the women to your right flank wearing the Charlotte Sword, represent some of the very finest non-commissioned officers and staff non-commissioned officers in the Marine Corps today. They stood by your young Marines since day number one of training. Their day started well before sunrise morning and lasted many times well past sunset and well after task. Together with their company officers, they went everywhere where the crew went. They did everything that the crew did. 7 days a week, strenuous training week. I'm sure that you appreciate what they went through and the sacrifices that their families made to help make today possible. And for your information, the vast majority of those drill instructors standing behind me will pick up other units similar to the ones graduating today in approximately 10 days, and it starts all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're happy to join us today in Parris Island. If you haven't gathered it yet, we're very proud of what we have here and what we do here. If you have not already had the opportunity to visit Parris Island and tour Parris Island, please take that opportunity before you leave. I'm sure your young Marine will be a fantastic tour guide. He knows it, she knows it very, very well. He'll be very happy to show you where some of the change was done. Now, to the Marines, Company A and Company O. Welcome to our Corps. It's a distinct privilege and an honor for me today to be the very first to address you as Marines. Marine you are today, and Marine will always be. With that title goes the responsibility linked to our heritage. That heritage has been born by tens of thousands of Marines who have gone before you over our nearly 215-year history. They've served gallantly, they've served honorably. Do nothing to tarnish that heritage. That's your responsibility when you leave Parris Island today. Shortly, in 2 minutes, you'll receive your final dismissal from Parris Island. Just before that dismissal, the man will strike up the Marine hymn. You've heard it many times. Today, it's for him. You'll feel something special. You'll stand a little straighter. You'll stand taller. I cannot stand here and describe the feeling that you'll have, but you'll have it nonetheless. We all do. All Marines do. All Marines who have been Marines in the past and gone before you will know it. It can't be duplicated. It can't be described. It's not taught in the manual. It certainly was never taught in a classroom here at Parris Island. But if not the most, it's certainly one of the most important things we'll take away from here, and we call it a esprit de corps. Take it with you. Take it with you throughout your tour in the Marine Corps, whether it's 3 years or 30 years. Never forget that feeling. Cherish it. Don't do anything to tarnish the heritage that comes with it. Take something else with you. Take our motto, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. And be always faithful. Be always faithful to your God, to your family, to our country, and to our Corps. Torch is passed to you, carry it wisely, carry it proudly. I wish you the very best. Godspeed.
Presenting the awards today is Colonel Trainer. He's accompanied by Sergeant Major McCraw, Regimental Sergeant Major. your applause to all awards that have been presented. The honor graduate for Company A is Aubrey McCarley from Lynette, Alabama. PFC McCarley was recruited by Sergeant Irvin and was trained by Senior Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Taylor. The honor graduate for Company O is Yolanda Swindell from San Francisco, California. PFC Swindell was recruited by Sergeant Ong and was trained by Senior Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Batista. The honor graduate from Platoon 1102 is Ezekiel Casares from Zephyr Hills, Florida. And Corporal Casares is also the recipient of the Physical Excellence Award for Company A, obtaining a score of 390. He was recruited by Sergeant Lumba and was trained by Senior Drill Instructor Sergeant Holbert. The honor graduate from Platoon 4031 is Joanna Baker from Aiken, South Carolina. And Corporal Baker recruited by Sergeant Woolwright and was trained by primary marksmanship instructor Sergeant Gamble, first unit assistant Staff Sergeant Mark Meehan. And Corporal Baker's husband, PFC's Army Baxley, is also graduating today with Company A. The honor graduate from Platoon 1097 is Kenneth Malou from Eastham, Massachusetts. PFC Malou was recruited by Sergeant Fitch and was trained by Senior Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Brady. Graduate from 1098 is William Blackwell from Trenton, New Jersey. PFC Blackwell was recruited by Sergeant Lay and was trained by Senior Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Smith. The honor graduate from 1100 is Herbert Pettiford from Burlington, North Carolina. PFC Pettiford was recruited by Sergeant Shaw, trained by Senior Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Shaw. The honor graduate from 1101 is Walter Tito from PFC was recruited by Staff Sergeant Bedford. The high shooter from Platoon 1096 is James Howell from Gastonia, North Carolina. PFC Howell fired a score of 236. He was recruited by Staff Sergeant Trinidad and was trained by primary Senior Drill Instructor is Staff Sergeant Taylor. The high shooter from Platoon 1098 is Jimmy Irizarry from Elmira, New York. PFC Irizarry fired a score of 231. He was recruited by Staff Sergeant Mason and was trained by primary marksmanship instructor Sergeant Brown. His senior drill instructor is Staff Sergeant Smith. The high shooter from Platoon 1102 is Michael Spade from Richmond, Virginia. PFC Spade fired a score of 222. He was recruited by Staff Sergeant Pulowski and was trained by primary marksmanship instructor Staff Sergeant Pitt. His senior drill instructor is Sergeant Holbert. The high shooter from Platoon 4030 is Shayna Greer from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. PFC Greer fired a score of 238. She was recruited by Staff Sergeant He was recruited by Staff Sergeant Hunter and was trained by Primary Marshal Instructor Sergeant Parker. His senior drill instructor is Sergeant Brady. The high shooter who was 1,100 is John Ashton from Bradenton, Florida. Private accident, 5 of 238. He was recruited by Staff Sergeant Turner and was trained by Primary His senior drill instructor is Staff Sergeant Carr. The high shooter who was 1,101. John Shaw from Westerville, Ohio. Private fire patrol, 234. He was recruited by Staff Sergeant Hammond and was trained by Primary Marshal Instructor Corporal Streety. His senior drill instructor is Staff Sergeant O'Bain. Receiving the physical excellence award for public service, Lisa Reardon from Death Valley, California. CFC Reardon achieved a score of 344. She was recruited by Sergeant Paul and was trained by senior drill instructor Staff Sergeant Martinez. Ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished graduates of Company A and Company O. The Marines of State Color Guard are Sergeant Sherry Shepard, color bearer for the national colors, and Sergeant Amy Feliciano, color bearer for the organizational colors. The color guards are PFC Felicia Watson of platoon 4030 and PFC Debbie Ann Wilson of platoon 4031. Ladies and gentlemen, the commanding officer of troops, Major LaBrescu and her staff. The Parris Island Marine Band, under the direction of Warrant Officer Tommy Anderson. The drum major is Master Gunnery Sergeant Gary Peterson. Lloyd and his graduating Marines. The senior drill instructor of platoon 1096, Staff Sergeant Taylor. The senior drill instructor of platoon 1097, Staff Sergeant Brady. The senior drill instructor of platoon 1098, Staff Sergeant Smith. First Lieutenant Leary and his graduating Marines. The senior drill instructor of platoon 1100, Staff Sergeant Carr. The senior drill instructor of platoon 1101, Staff Sergeant O'Bain. The senior drill instructor of platoon 1102, Sergeant Holbert. First Lieutenant Springer and her graduating Marines. The senior drill instructor of platoon 4030, Staff Sergeant Batista. The senior drill instructor of platoon 4031, Staff Sergeant Martinez. gentlemen, it is my pleasure at this time to introduce to you the commanding officers of today's graduating companies. The commanding officer of Company A is Captain Jeffrey Schaff from Marinette, Wisconsin. The commanding officer of Company O is Captain Angela Klingman from Mustang, Oklahoma. Ladies and gentlemen, the Marines most responsible for the training of the graduates are the platoon drill instructors. Prior to assignment, each drill instructor takes a pledge which reads as follows. These recruits are entrusted to my care. I will train them to the best of my ability. I will develop them into smartly disciplined, physically fit, basically trained Marines, thoroughly indoctrinated in love of corps and country. I will demand of them and demonstrate by my own example the highest standards of personal conduct, morality, and professional skill. It is my pleasure at this time to introduce to you the Marines responsible for training Company A and Company O. Please hold your applause until all the drill instructors have been introduced. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll look to your left. The senior drill instructor of Platoon 1096 is Staff Sergeant Thomas Taylor from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Assisting in the training of Platoon 1096 are drill instructors Staff Sergeant Thomas Farrell from Conway, South Carolina, Sergeant Roy Morris from Opelika, Alabama, and Sergeant Timothy Merkliner from Canandaigua, New York. The senior drill instructor of Platoon 1097 is Staff Sergeant Doyle Brady from Lake Wales, Florida. Assisting in the training of Platoon 1097 are drill instructors Sergeant Robert Holder from Atlanta, Georgia, and Sergeant Eugenia Arroyo Villa from Bronx, New York. The senior drill instructor of Platoon 1098 is Staff Sergeant Julian Smith from Wausau, Wisconsin. Assisting in the training of Platoon 1098 are drill instructors Staff Sergeant Travis Johnson from New York City, New York, Staff Sergeant Jonathan Cabell from Richmond, Virginia, and Sergeant William Burton from New York City, New York. The senior drill instructor of Platoon 1100 is Staff Sergeant Roosevelt Carr from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Assisting in the training of Platoon 1100 are drill instructors Sergeant Benson Brown from Cleveland, Ohio, and Sergeant Ronald Payton from Providence, Rhode Island. The senior drill instructor of Platoon 1101 is Staff Sergeant Jack Abate from New City, New York. Assisting in the training of Platoon 1101 are drill instructors Sergeant Mike Slaughter from San Antonio, Texas, and Sergeant Richard Boswell from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The senior drill instructor of Platoon 1102 is Sergeant Clinton Holbert from Paola, Kansas. Assisting in the training of Platoon 1102 are drill instructors Sergeant Roger Stringfellow from Opelika, Alabama, and Sergeant Scott Simmons from Detroit, Michigan. The senior drill instructor of Platoon 4030 is Staff Sergeant Maria Batista from Queens, New York. Assisting in the training of Platoon 4030 are drill instructors Staff Sergeant Sheila Newber from Indiana, Sergeant Rosa Michelle from Nogales, Arizona, and Sergeant Dory Ann Debut from Alden, Pennsylvania. The senior drill instructor of Platoon 4031 is Staff Sergeant Deborah Martinez from Los Angeles, California. Assisting in the training of Platoon 4031 are drill instructors Staff Sergeant Shirley Roderfeld from Selma, Alabama, Sergeant Deborah Lath from Weymouth, Massachusetts, and Sergeant Gail Hall from Ithaca, Nebraska. Ladies and gentlemen, the drill instructors of Company A and Company O. The platoon guidons that are about to be retired have been the identification flags of each platoon throughout recruit training. To each, the guidon is a symbol of spirit, dedication, teamwork, and unit identity.
Guard! Retire! A guidon!
gentlemen, you're reminded that refreshments will be served behind the reviewing stand immediately following the ceremony. For your convenience, the photographer from the Public Affairs Office will be in front of the Iwo Jima Monument to assist you in taking photographs of you and your new Marine with your camera. Please rise for Anchors Away, the Marine's Hymn, and the final dismissal.
Thank you.